Good afternoon and welcome to Asset Management Systems presentation about prototyping and innovation. I'm Gosha, CEO and founder of Asset Management Systems, consultancy with a purpose to support organizations and businesses to succeed on the journey of digital transformation. With background in industrial design and architecture, over the last 15 years, I have had the opportunity to work across industries of asset management, real estate, as well as manufacturing, construction, and infrastructure. On my journey, I have recognized that innovation, digital, and transformation of service delivery are one of the key challenges businesses face in the 20th century. You might wonder why service delivery and operating models actually become redundant. Well, ask yourself a question. Is the current context right for the 20th century structures that used to deal with simple problems of the past decade? Is the 20th century organizational vision still relevant? Did anyone ever come up with a great idea in the boardroom? There is many reasons why business and operating models become redundant. The main one, however, is that they solve irrelevant problems with out-of-date tools. Poor execution and lack of skills to turn concepts and ideas into reality is the second major blocker to success that goes hand in hand with inadequate delivery infrastructure. So what's different between 20th and 21st century? They're not that far apart after all. Well, our environment has dramatically changed over last year. COVID-19 did put a dent in time. So if we look back, most organizations in the 20th century operated in a simple context. The main currency for success was exploitation and transactional relationships. The 21st century, however, has become far more complex. The environment is chaotic and disruptive. There is a lot of uncertainty, and the currency for success is purpose, innovation, and transformation towards net zero and circular economy that collectively solve global challenges. The problem we have is that many organizations are still formatted for the 20th century, not the 21st. Therefore, they may not be able to respond quickly enough to the changes in the supply and demand. Purpose, innovation, and transformation are big words. If we throw value into the mix, we can easily confuse our brain, freeze, do nothing, and put it all into too difficult a box. This is when we need to take one thing at a time and break down complexity into components and concepts to transform ideas into practical reality. For any organization, this could be a development of new business operating model, product, process improvement, customer delivery solution using digital technologies or combination of them. A structured approach should be deployed to stimulate design thinking and prototyping that are fundamental to innovation and transformation. Prototyping is a low-cost, low-risk way of developing, testing, and improving ideas at an early stage. Prototyping enables development of many versions of the future state that can be put to test for feedback and remodeling before actually committing to the final expensive solution. Prototyping is a method of building and testing proposed new service delivery or operating models. It is the quickest way, allowing experimentation with ideas, so you can learn and refine it into tangible solutions that can be properly scaled up and implemented during a large-scale digital transformation program and its deployment. So what is prototyping about? Prototyping is about cutting through the noise of complexity, understanding the essence, the intrinsic nature of the problem, and the rethink of the concept we're about to address. Through prototyping, we determine characteristics and the most indispensable qualities of the customer or business most important needs now and in the future. This is well in line with how our brain and its neuroplasticity work, especially when we adapt to change or transform our thinking. Prototyping enables us to approach concepts at their essence, therefore creating an opportunity for our brain to transform our thinking and recategorize the world of concepts. What you need to know is that everything we perceive around us is represented by social and cultural concepts developed over the years in our brain. The brain, by repetition, is using these concepts to categorize sensory input. Without those concepts, we would be permanently experientially blind. So if your company prototypes a vision of the future, the team that supported it could start to experience a world of their own construction if everyone was part of creating that vision. So here is the crux. If we do not reposition and rethink our concepts, our brain will be recreating on an autopilot the experience of the 20th century over and over again, and that is without even trying. To give you an example how the brain neuroplasticity and concepts work, think about this. When you look at the rainbow, you see a distinctive stripes of color, but in nature, we know that rainbow has no stripes. It is a continuous spectrum of light with wavelengths that have no borders or bands of any kind. So why do we see stripes? Because we have mental concepts of color like red, green, blue, and shapes. The brain automatically uses these concepts to group together the information into categories of color and associations of emotions and memories to predict our experience. The same applies to language when we categorize the input. Even in childhood, we learn rhythm, regularity of sound, granularity of volume. Everything we perceive around us is represented by concept, so we can experience a world of our own construction. Of course, we do not say that we need to rethink the concept of rainbow. However, we could if, for example, a recent scientific evidence is to the contrary, that a rainbow is a spectrum of light with wavelengths that have no borders. So how does prototyping work? Historically, prototyping was an innovation method most used by architects, designers, and web developers rather than the mainstream organizations. Today, however, there is a growing interest in how this approach could be adapted for the public and private sector to reformat and redesign asset management systems for the 21st century service delivery. Prototyping enables organizations to experiment, evaluate, learn, and adapt an idea by taking a structured and iterative approach to testing and developing solutions as they go. It is important to start with a calm and open mind. Do not accept the first impressions. Establishing the context first enables emotional and logical minds to integrate. So remember, when you experiment and prototype, concepts and feelings first, logic and analysis second. Prototyping is a great way to collaborate and get the remote team going using digital whiteboards from the safety and security of our homes. It involves creating a simple version of an idea, whether this is a scribble on a napkin, a vision board, collage of images from the internet, mind map, or simply a fishbone diagram. Working remotely is greatly beneficial to this process, as the biggest volume of ideas are developed when we are left alone. One person can generate up to 20 ideas in 10-15 minutes, depending on the subject. This is not possible really in a group or in a boardroom. Think about it. Did anyone ever come up with a great idea in the boardroom? Once we have a large volume of ideas and choices, we need to avoid falling in love with the first one and learn how to prototype multiple new solutions. This enables the ideas to mature and be converted into problem definition, leading to the design of a target operating model, for example. Because the 21st century is calling for more digital and remote ways of delivering service via web platforms, digitalization of workflow, and process integration, these prototype ideas can lead to the ultimate product and service testing in the market. In the prototyping exercise, we can answer many questions. What is the most effective way of using digital twin or BIM? What is actual value of 3D environment in the operational delivery? What efficiencies and productivity improvements can we get by using those technologies? What impact does it actually have on the organizational structure and its people? This approach enables the ideas to be then converted into problem definition, leading to the design of a target operating model and ultimately a large-scale deployment through digital transformation program. Using target operating models is a simple and incredibly effective way to discover a clear and practical way to test business ideas. It creates a shared language and a prototype that supports risk mitigation to avoid costly failures now and in the future. Target operating model canvas is our conceptual map that functions as a visual representation of an idea with corresponding language. It helps you to see the whole picture. It provides a structured visual image and text reference capturing all the information needed to sketch out a new service or operating model delivery solution using technology and integrating it at the same time. Sketching out an operating or service delivery model transforms it into a conceptual anchor to which discussions can always return. If you aim to improve an existing business model, the target operating model canvas will help you to visually depict the core elements and identify logical gaps to facilitate discussion to develop an overarching logic. Similarly, if you are designing new solution, drawing it out in a structured way will allow you to discuss different options easily by adapting, removing, or reconfiguring elements around. Businesses already make a frequent use of charts and diagrams. However, visual techniques like vision boards can add tremendous value to discussion, exploration, and defining business issues and problems. Visual thinking enhances strategic thinking by making the abstract tangible and bringing to the surface the relationships between elements and simplifying the complexity. In practical terms, using target operating model canvas and using the time upfront to break down concepts and complexity leads to better quality and more specific outcomes. By sketching out all the elements of the target operating model canvas, you give immediately viewers the bigger picture of your idea. This approach plays in favor of our brain functionality and understanding concepts first and logic second. And remember, do not fall in love with your first idea. If you freeze an idea too quickly, you will fall in love with it. If you refine it too quickly, you become attached to it, and it becomes very hard to keep exploring, to keep looking for better. Therefore, the crudeness of the early model, in particular in the very early stages, should be deliberate. So use target operating model canvas to define relationships between organizational structures and the supply chain through business process alignment, the commercial contract management, and the scope of works. Remember, avoid falling in love with your first idea. Learn how to prototype using target operating model canvas to realize benefits for your organization, drive the digital transformation to net zero and circular economy. Thank you very much for listening and tuning in. Gosha, Asset Management Systems.